Hello everybody. Today we're gonna be this is gonna be a briefing about Hurricane Elsa mainly. Today. Now in the later part of the video we will touch on severe weather and other things with it, but right now Elsa currently has sustained winds of 75 miles per hour and is 995 millibars moving west-northwest at 28 miles per hour. At this point, Elsa was not expected to be a hurricane. It had sustained winds of that force on the Barbados, which are sitting right next to Elsa right now. There have been gusts up into Category 2 strength, so this thing might be a bit stronger than what we're thinking it is right now. Here's the current kind of warning map here. So we have, so the NHC is being conservative. They've been very conservative this whole time. There's hurricane warnings for portions of the Barbados right now. It's right over them. And then there's also hurricane warnings for the Leeward Islands. We have hurricane watches for portions of the Dominican Republic, as the system might brush by there. We also have tropical storm watches for Jamaica. And then we have nothing else down the line. Now this cone, I definitely think there's potential that it actually goes outside of the cone and goes this way, but there's also potential it goes outside of the cone and goes this way. We don't know yet. The NHC is being conservative though and sticking with a tropical storm. High-end one at the least, but it's a tropical storm. Here are the current intensity guidances. So we're likely going to see this thing become a high-end Cat 1 to low-end Cat 2, with the H-Worth having this becoming a Category 3 and another model as well. I mean, I wouldn't. I don't think it's going to become a Cat 3 if I'm going to be honest with you. I think a Cat 1 to Cat. I think a high-end Cat 2 to low to maybe middle-end Cat. I think a low-end Cat 1 or high-end Cat 1 to low to middle-end Cat 2 is more likely. Currently looking at the tracks, NHC is going with these tracks right here. They're mostly going with this set. There are a handful of models that end up taking it through the gap and into the Gulf as well, and that could be a problem for the Gulf states. The GFS is now spread out. It has tracks from the Bahamas all the way into the Central Gulf. Now, in my opinion, what's the most likely track? The most likely track is probably for it to do something like this. Barely hit Cuba and then go into the Florida Panhandle and then probably do something like this. Maybe go back out to sea. That's the track in my opinion. If it has this much time back in the Gulf, I do think a hurricane is likely. I do think a hurricane will be likely at landfall. If it doesn't have so much time in the Gulf, but it occurs and hits Florida, a hurricane is possible. Now, details on this are very low. Track is still being sorted out as we speak. That's kind of my thoughts on the system right now. Let's go over and look at the forecast models. We're gonna first check out the H-Worth. So this is the forecast hour. So it did not actually have a hurricane at this point. It only had 1,004 millibars. And this thing is already becoming a hurricane. So it's overachieving what the models are showing. You know what the National Hurricane Center has? Let's see here. Yeah, it's overachieving the wind speed too. This thing is likely going to probably become stronger as it approaches Haiti, probably on the order of 80, maybe 85 knots. H-Worth has this thing becoming a major hurricane before it smacking into Cuba, 100 knots right here. And after this comes into Cuba, it gets torn apart by the land, but it re-strengthens by Florida to become a high-end tropical storm, low-end hurricane type deal. Now look at this. These are its outer bands, and it has a bunch of supercells on the H-Worth, which is definitely possible. And then if you look at the shear values given with this, they are extremely high. We'll just take a sounding out here and just show you. Like, downloading image. Very supportive environment for tropical tornadoes. You have storm relative helicity of nearly 250, and you have surface-based instability of 1,300. That's pretty good. We also have pretty favorable wind barbs, except for that top one, which is a bit weird, but going for that one. We have pretty favorable wind barbs all the way into the mid levels, and the upper levels are That's what you get with the hurricane, though. Let's do it right here. So we're gonna look at the 500 millibar we're gonna look at the vorticity, and look at this. Look at all these different storms that we have. We have boom, boom, boom. These are outer bands that are capable of producing tornadoes if this situation occurs. The GFS has also been hinting at a relatively decent tornado threat with this system as well. I'll look at the GFS in a little bit, but my goodness, look at that. That's a classic environment for tropical tornadoes. And we'll look more in depth about this on Pivotal because there's more ingredients to look at, but kind of just to get the gist of it right now. Let's look at the H-Worth parent model and just see what it's doing. So at this point today, it wasn't very strong at all, the parent. And it really didn't get to hurricane force until tomorrow. On the H-Worth parent, seems like it gets to around 90 knots. And then it weakens because it hits Cuba. It gets torn apart by Cuba, but it re-strengthens into a high-end tropical storm before hitting Florida. Let's look at the GFS model now. We'll go back all the way like nearly zero. GFS at this point, it didn't have intensity very good at all. But it shows a hurricane right here. Shows it being a hurricane for a while into this area. And then it shows a stronger hurricane actually out here with the 72 knots. So once in landfall of around 85, 90 mile an hour, hurricane-wise. Let's look at the precip and just let's just take a big old box sounding and see what we get here. My goodness, that's a good tropical sounding again. Look at that curved photograph right there that you have. You have a decent amount of instability. Given the GFS, it's probably going to be underdoing some of the instability values. But yeah, that's what the GFS is showing. Let's go into the H1 and get the 10 millibar wind here. So, anywhere really, I'm going to make a broad outline once I get to the other models later on. Let me go back all the way to here. Okay, 36. So, at this, let me see when the, okay, so let's do, okay, so this is 12 hours ago. So, actually, it's around this strength, the HMON. The HMON doesn't really have it. It has it becoming a hurricane west of the Antilles. Has it being like a 75. Okay, so it has it nearing major hurricane status as well, 95 knots. Hits Florida, and it actually redevelops it into a strong tropical storm again. But, of course, it weakens with land interaction there, and it pretty much dies after that. Look at the CMC, but this model is not very good. From what my knowledge is, and yeah, it's way too far with the track. Now I'm gonna go to some of the global models. I'm just gonna look. We're just gonna go in the H-Worth parent again, and I'm just gonna show you the areas that definitely could be hit by this. So right here. So if this takes a southern track below Jamaica, it's going to probably hit the western Florida Panhandle, Alabama, Mississippi, or Louisiana, given the flow. If it goes north of Jamaica, it's probably going to hit on Cuba somewhere. It's probably going to hit the Florida Panhandle. It probably won't hit anywhere else. Or it might just go out to sea, but that's very unlikely. Now, if this goes very close to Puerto Rico, which is possible, we could see this thing curve out to sea, but at this time, it's not looking like that's going to happen. Let's go in the GFS on Pivotal Weather. We'll check out some of the other models as well. We're going to look at the tornado threat of the system. Now, yes, this is a little bit far out to look at right now, and I know that. But we'll look at it just to see what GFS shows. So So Florida there, not too terrible there. This is 126 hours out, which isn't too far. Lots of helicity, especially around the center, but that's very typical of hurricanes. Let's just take a see here. Where the instability is the best, that's your best tornado threat. So right along the coast there, that's not terrible, but that is a bit contaminated there. It seems like the Tampa Bay area could be at risk of a decent tornado threat. That's a non. I mean, it's still contaminated, but that's what you get with tropical cyclones. That's a pretty decent sounding right there. You don't have as much curvature as you want though. Let's go back a little bit more. Let's go. Let's see like right here in the Tampa Metro. Let's just see this. That's not very good. Probably all the dynamics by that point have all left that area. Let me just check again. Yeah, the dynamics left. It's like the 850 flow. Oh, it's all the way up here. Yep, that's why there's no tornado threat. Let's just check that. Okay, that's a good that's a good wind sound. Not a wind sound. That's a good width. Those are good photographs there, but it's contaminated. Too contaminated at all. Really. I want to see if the Euro ends up bringing this storm into Florida. Let's see what the Euro does with it. I didn't check it. Yeah, the Euro doesn't do anything with it. Doesn't surprise me that the Euro doesn't even form this thing up. That's the Canadian. We don't really want to look at the Canadian very much. What's the National Weather Service forecasting with this thing? Seems like it wants Florida to get a ton of rain. Let's just see there. Yeah, get pelted, Florida. Um, let's look at the GEFS ensembles on. Well, actually, we already looked at the GFS ensembles actually. So let's go and look at the severe weather aspect or of the next few days, and it's really not that active. That's why I say this for the end. Today there's a less than 2% chance for tornadoes. We have a 5 wind and a 5 hail. The marginal day today, I mean, yesterday ended up being a pretty significant day actually across the Mid-Atlantic. I'll show you the reports of that. I'll show you the reports of both days. Well, this ended up verifying a lot better than a lot of people expected it to. Probably verified a 30 wind like right in here. It also ended up producing a couple of tornadoes as well. One of them potentially being significant. This event did alright. Filtered wise, it's 173 reports. The last one had 119, but that was more concentrated. This is more, I mean, this is rather widespread, so it probably did verify the 30, but just barely. If you know what I mean. But now let's just go into the flash flooding, or let's just go on the overall aspect of the next few days. So it looks like flash flooding is going to be likely in a couple of spots for the next few days. There is Elsa right there, as you get right there. So let's see the track of what the Weather Prediction Center has Elsa doing at this time. So it has Elsa making landfall in Florida. That's very possible. Maybe by Wednesday, Thursday next week, we might see some strong storms into the Midwest. Looks like there's going to be something over there that kind of influences it. But a lot of rain is likely for the East Coast over the next few days. Places like a lot of the Gulf Coast, actually. Like, if you live anywhere really in here over the next few days, not even in New Mexico, but really anywhere in here, you're going to get pounded with rain over the next few days. Let's just look at these excessive rain outlooks. So for today, we have 3 slights. Tomorrow we have a couple marginals and a couple marginals on day 3. That will do it for this one though. Just a briefing on Elsa and just a small little severe weather update. I will see everybody in the next one.